Alright, welcome back to the final part of the support guide. I hope you guys have been learning a lot and been enjoying these videos so far. I hope you found them helpful. This part should be the most chilled out of all of them and should be a little more straightforward. I'm just going to kind of talk about all these items and how good I think they are, how viable they are, when you should buy them, that type of stuff, what gods do really well with them, and that's pretty much it. So, this is the god builder that I have set up on every god, and I have all these items here for a reason, so I will go over it. So we went over the start, Guardian's Blessing, Traveler's Shoes. These can be any boots, I just have Travelers here for consistency. Both these chalices are pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Something I want to comment on that I forgot on the last part. So we'll go over the auras again. Sovereignty and Heartward I don't really have to touch anything on. They're just, really good items. They're really good auras. They're super effective. When going Thebes, something that I think the buff to patch 5.4, where it gives you the 5 stacks off of a kill or an assist on a god, I think something that's really overlooked here is that previously when you win Sovereignty, it wouldn't feel good to go Thebes right after, because you wouldn't have the stacks done until like 18 minutes. But now, if you need Sovereignty for a really good early game and you want to fight early game, you can now go Thebes' third item, and because you're fighting, you can be rewarded by fighting, whereas previously you were rewarded for being passive with Gauntlet of Thebes just to clear creeps. But now that you're rewarded for fighting and getting ahead on Thebes, if you get ahead with Sovereignty, you can go greedy and go for Thebes if you don't think you're going to die, and it'll help you stack that item up quicker, and I think it's really strong. Also, the other start that I did not talk about, I completely forgot, was Guardian's Blessing into rushing Gauntlet of Thebes. I do not think this is good at all, which is why I didn't go over it. But if you choose to do this, and somehow you don't get punished for not having boots, and you can get ahead with it, it is very, very strong, and you can get the stacks on quicker. Again, I do not ever recommend going this. I think it is just a strictly bad start. I always recommend going Guardian's Blessing, any boots you want, doesn't have to be Travelers, into War Chalice, even the 400 gold one. I know it's getting nerfed, I'm talking about the 400 gold one. I think these should be your first 3 items every game. This is a total of 2,700 gold. This is like easily attainable by your first back. This means if you buy to 0, including potions, you would have to have like 3,100 total gold in the game. It's pretty easy to get that. At worst, your second back, you can get like Chalice plus rank 1 of Sovereignty or Thebes or Heartward or whatever, and feel pretty good about it. So, just to wrap up those thoughts. Anyways, moving on to the God Builder. I'm going to talk about the just like the general philosophy that people have. This sounds really fucking hipster, I know. But the general kind of philosophy that people have when building supports. For some reason, anytime aura items get buffed, people think that means you build every aura item in the book. That's not what that means. Like, just because Sovereignty and Thebes got buffed does not mean you also have to build Heartward every game. Like, Heartward is very good, don't get me wrong. It gives you 75 magical prot and 250 health. Selfishly, that is actually 10 more prot, if you count physical and magical as the same, than Sov gives. It is very, very cost efficient. I mean, you compare that to something like Voidstone. It gives you 100 more health, it gives you 15 more magical prot, and it gives you a pretty comparable aura, and you just lose the magical power. Heartward is a very, very, very good item, especially because mages are as good as they are. But other options are still good. There is nothing wrong with going Traveler's Shoes, Sovereignty, and the Voidstone, especially if you're on a god that can do damage. There is nothing wrong with this build. It can be very good. There is nothing wrong with going Genji's Guard there if you want CDR. Unfortunately for Heartward, it's in a slot where normally you're going to get physical prot first, so you're either going to get Sovereignty or you're going to get like Gauntlet of Thebes into one of those other items like, Jade Crown or Sovereignty or whatever. Normally you get physical prot first, and supports do really well with other stats like CDR or having a little bit of damage or having passives like Shoguns or, maybe you need anti-heal and Pestilence, whatever, right? There are a lot of very, very good magical defense items. And because of that, I would just say be aware that you don't have to build Heart Ward. It is not bad to forego Heart Ward at all. Most games, your passive is only going to be applying to their mage, reducing the support damage. While good into the mid and late game when you're finishing this item, normally third, by then the support's damage should have fallen off a good bit in most games, so I don't really think you need to go this. I think going other options is good. And again, building this is fine. I just want to reiterate that you do not have to build Heart Ward every game. Other things to go here, I think... let me go over some stuff. I don't think rushing... I think you basically want to rush Thebes, Sovereignty, Heart Ward, or Voidstone, or a Stone of Binding, like I said in the last video, every game. Other build paths you can... Other build paths... I can't speak, that you can go for... are maybe like a Stone of Gaia. This is also getting nerfed. I don't think it'll really feel that great, but it is a lot of health right up front, right when you buy it. HP 5, MP 5 gives you a ton of sustain. The regen will be 1.5% of your max health, so it's going into, I think, 2250 gold, so it's 150 more gold. But it'll give you a lot of regen. It does very well if they have a lot of knockups on their team. It can still be a good rush. I've messed with it on stream a little bit. I think it's okay. I don't think it's great. Other than that, I think the other items that you'll really see a lot are... Or I guess going over Season 4, people were rushing Jade Empress kind of a lot at the end. If people watch Worlds really closely, something you'll notice is I did not build this item. And the reason being, I thought that after they nerfed it, it went from 60 physical prot to 50. I felt like Sovereignty had already overtaken it, despite the buff that they did in Season 5. The reason for that is I value the HP 5 on Sovereignty a lot, and I feel that the aura on Sov is better than the aura on Jade Emperor's Crown on most supports, because the physical power, I feel, one, it doesn't help you play the map as much, so like this helps your team take less damage from like towers and gold furies, which is just a small thing, but it does add up, and the HP 5 over time does add up a lot. I just don't think the passive on Jade Emperor's Crown is nearly as good. 20 power, not that much. I don't think you should ever sacrifice 150 health and 15 prot for Jade Emperor's Crown. I think that it is the most overrated support item currently. And for the most part, I've been staying away from it. It is a good item, but I think while you could go something like this and just stack auras, if you're going into this point of the game, I feel like you're better just going for something like a Mid-Guardian, or just going CDR, so going like a Pythags, or a Shoguns, or a Genjis, or a Breastplate, or a Mela Renewal, or a Relic Dagger, or a Witchblade, literally anything. I don't think Jade Emperor's Crown is that good. Other than that, I think... What's another item to go over? I guess Mid-Guardian Mail was buffed, so you can rush Mid-Guardian Mail if you were going to rush Sovereignty, but they have an auto-attack jungler. So say they have like a Mercury or a Kali and they have a Hunter. I think rushing Mid-Guardian is really good. Also, something to note, in the case where you are rushing Mid-Guardian over Sovereignty, something to keep in mind is this is 100 extra health, and that does make you slightly tankier to magical damage than Sovereignty will. So, normally if you go Sov, you feel pretty squishy to the mage, but in the case of Mid-Guardian, like if you just have this build, we'll just say on Athena, and you have this build at like level 8, just having 1650 health is a lot. Like, for a mage to be able to do that much damage, and I mean, especially if you add Guardian's Blessing on top of that, right, you go to 1750, and then if you add Reinforced on top of it, like, all of a sudden you have nearly 2k health from just one item. 350 health, unless you go Stone of Gaia, is the most health you're going to get early, and I think the passive on Mid-Guardian is super good, so that's another item that you could rush. That could be pretty good. I'm just going to clear this really quick. Other items, I think Spirit Robe is solid. I think in a build where you go double aura, so if you do decide to go Sovereignty, Heart Ward, kind of, you know, the classic support build that has been a thing since Season 2, going Spirit Robe right after is really good. It gives you every other stat that you want. It gives you the crowd control reduction and the cooldown. It bumps up your procs selfishly, and it gives you that effect where if they CC you, you take less damage. Super good build. This build has been viable in literally every single season. Season 2, 3, 4, and now 5. This build's perfectly fine. You'll never get BM'd for going it. You know, it's just solid. It's just solid the whole way through. It has good power spikes, gives you HP 5, gives you MP 5, gives you every single stat you want. It's really, really good. Spirit Robe is a good item to round out your build. I'd say a similar thing with Shoguns, where Shoguns has been overlooked for a while, but if you go a build where you can get away with Gauntlet of Thebes, and you could even go Gauntlet after Sav, like you could switch the order of this if you want. You know, if you have these two items, just keep in mind, add 60 to the prot values here. Obviously, you wouldn't be level 20, but add 60 to these prot values. Let's say you're level 14 when you're getting your third item. You'd have 175 physical prot, and then you'd have 143 magical prot. That's plenty of magical prot. That is actually a good bit of magic prot if you compare that to having... I guess we'll drop these two items. You actually have more prot with this than... So compare Boots, Double Aura, into Spirit Robe is actually less magical prot than going Boots, Sovereignty, Thebes, Shoguns. So if that makes sense for yourself, by your own, like selfishly, you are more tanky with this build than you were going Sovereignty, Heart Ward, and Spirit Robe. And this build is actually the exact same price. You gain or you lose 100 gold going Shoguns from Heart Ward, but you save 100 going from Spirit Robe to Thebes. But you're actually tankier. You have a ton of HP 5 from both these items. You still have the MP 5 from Shoguns. It gives you the crowd control reduction and the cooldown, just like Spirit Robe does. And then it helps your team, instead of having a selfish passive, for the same price, basically the same stats, actually you're tankier, you get a passive that helps your team, especially if you have multiple auto attackers. I think this build is super underrated. I actually think this is the strongest a support can be through 3 items than any other build in the game, and 3 defense items. I mean, I actually think this is my favorite build in the season so far. I think it's super strong. Obviously, again, there's flexibility there. You can triple stack auras if you want. Nothing wrong with it. You add 60 procs on top of this. You add 15 to physical, so you add a total of 75. That's going to put you at 190 physical prot. I hope I did that math right. Yeah, 190 physical prot. And then you add 80 magical prot, so you're at 188. So 190, 188, super freaking balanced. Just protection distribution, you have a ton of health. You have 250, 200, 250, you know, you have 700 health built through these items. Just, you know, you can obviously triple aura stack. After you go this, an item that I also think is really underrated is Pythags. I went over this in my Season 5 review. Whenever you get to the point of a game, and this will normally happen through 3 items or 4 items, depending on how the game is going, how behind you are, where your team is at. If you can get Pythags and you don't think you are going to die, this item is fucking nuts. This is a sick item. Going from 200 mana in Season 4 to 200 health in Season 5 is such an insane buff. Going this item 4th or 5th used to screw you defensively. You gained nothing. But now, cooldown rounds out your build super well. It gives you a stat that helps you in team fights a ton. It helps you make plays. Giving you health is really nice. Giving you health is really nice. Giving you extra damage is huge. And then the aura is probably one of, if not the best, offensive auras in the game. It gives everyone on your team more damage. It gives them physical lifesteal, which even for something like a warrior sounds really troll, but even like a warrior or a, you know, an ability-based assassin, this will add up. Like, just weaving in auto attacks and lifestealing will add up, even for like your mage, even if they don't have Bancrofts or something like that. Just giving them that extra lifesteal is very nice. It also kind of functions defensively in that case. Really, really, really good item. Super, super underrated. And again, works with triple aura stack. It works with the other build that I was saying as well. I'm just going to clear the build here really quick. What else do I want to go over? Another item, I used to say that Breastplate of Valor is a huge noob trap. I still think it is a huge noob trap in the sense of, if you go this, you should uninstall. Stop watching this video, go to your programs, type in uninstall in the search bar, find Smite, uninstall it, boom, you're done. That's it. You know, you gotta go, basically, after that. The only god I will accept going this on are the mage supports, so Nox or Hell. I will accept going Breastplate on if you get ahead and you don't think you're going to die. Other than that, I really don't think Breastplate first item is good, but this is fine. Going Thebes into Breastplate is fine. You have an aura for your team that covers both prots. It gives you extra health. It gives you HP 5. So now you have health. You have HP 5. You have mana. You have HP 5. You have a lot of protection. So let's say you get this done. Actually, it would be about level 14 because both of these are really expensive. Actually, no way. It'd be like level 11 maybe. Something like that. Anyways, let's say you have that done. You have 180 magical or 180 physical prot. You have 100 magical prot. You have 20% CDR. A lot of gods that can abuse that. This is really nice. You'll feel pretty tanky. Decent build. Not great, but then if you go Shoguns or something, like say you did this build on a Nox support, you have every stat you want. Like you could go CDR boots and then, you know, suddenly if you go CDR boots on like a Nox or CDR boots on a Geb, you are through 4 items in your build. You have full CDR, you have crowd control reduction, you have an aura for your team that protects them, you have an aura for your team that helps them do damage, you have, you know, basically infinite mana and health, and you have, I guess at this point in the game you'd be like level 14, 15, you have like 190 physical prots, and you have 140 magical prots. Perfectly fine build, can help you rush CDR. A lot of gods do well with rushing CDR. I mean, Athena is good with CDR, Geb is good with CDR, Khepri is good with CDR, Ganesha, Fafnir, Kumba, Cerberus, Shinten, Terra. There's so many good supports that scale really well off CDR. Amaterasu, a lot of the warriors, Ama, Guan Yu, obviously, you know, you can really abuse that, and I went over the mages already, so again, that's another viable option you can do. If you're against auto attackers, and you don't want to go mid-guardian mail, or you don't rush mid-guardian mail, something you can do is go these auras, and then again, you can aura stack, but you could go Witchblade, which will give you a little bit more health. You already have plenty of protections from these 2 auras. You could throw in a Spirit Robe, switch the order of this if you want. You have plenty of passives to help your own team. You have a selfish passive. You have a passive to hurt the enemy team. It also gives you cooldown. It gives you movement speed to help you move faster. It gives you, you know, health. It just rounds out your stats, right? So really what I'm stressing here is load into the game, find what strengths and weaknesses your team has versus their team, or where your team comp really excels, blah, blah, blah. Figure out what your first 2 items are supposed to be. So it could be Sovereignty or Heartward. It could be Gauntlet of Thebes Breastplate. It could be Gauntlet into Heartward. It could be Gauntlet into Sovereignty. It could be Sovereignty into Gauntlet. It could be Heartward into Gauntlet. Whatever. Figure out what those are. It could be Gauntlet into Spirit Robe. I haven't even talked about that. I'll go over that in a second. It could be Gauntlet into Spirit Robe. Figure out what those items are. Get those first 2 items online, preferably auras if you can. Offensive or defensive, doesn't matter. And then to start rounding out your build, find crowd control reduction, find cooldown reduction. It'll help you in these late game team fights a lot. Both those stats are critical for support, and I would recommend finding them early. Again, an expensive build here, but something that's certainly pretty good. We'll say this, that you have this around level 12. This is really good, this build right here. If you go, I guess like, you know, Heavenly and Shell, you could have both of these. You back at level 12, you finish Spirit Robe, you have a full stack Gauntlet of Thebes, so suddenly you have, you know, basically 160 physical prot and 140 magical prot about that. You have an aura, you're super hard to kill, you have 2 team fight relics. This is a really good build. A little bit more expensive, takes a bit longer to get online because you're paying, you know, collectively near 5,000 gold for these 2 items, but you get to this point in the game and it's a super strong build, so there's a lot of options you can do. I guess going on to other individual items, Magi's, I don't think it's that great, especially in metas where defensive auras are good. Normally, if you build 2 auras like that, you'd rather have a Spirit Robe or a Mantle than a Magi's in that slot, so I wouldn't really worry about Magi's that much. Pythags is good. Rod of the Asclepius, another option similar to Pythags in the 5th or 6th item slot, where if you have a healer, you buff your healing up. If you have a meditation, it helps your meditation. It still functions the same way Pythags does, and it will buff lifesteal. Lifesteal functions as healing and this type of stuff, so, I mean, it can be good. Gives you power, which can be very nice on healers, obviously, if you're playing Hell. Very good item to have on Hell in the late game. A little bit of health, magical power is good, a little bit of movement speed, not bad, doesn't hurt yourself defensively that much, just a bit expensive. What else? If you need a damage option, you could go Divine Rune. If you're against a healer, say you have a spot in the game where you're playing, let's say you're playing Bacchus, and you go Pen Boots Bacchus, right? and you go Pen Boots into Sovereignty, into Voidstone, into Spirit Robe, and you don't think you're going to die. You feel like you're plenty tanky, boom, Divine Ruin. They're not going to heal for shit. You're a Bacchus, or even a Sobek. You could do this with Pen Boots. You do a ton of damage because you have 15, basically another 20, 35. You have 45 flat pen, basically. So you have near capped flat pen, or near 50. It doesn't really apply to the cap like that. But anyways, like, you have plenty of procs. You have, what is this? 20, 80 is 100. So you have 160 or 145, 165, 145 magical power with 45 penetration. You'll basically one-shot. If you flop all 3 as Bacchus and weave in a couple auto attacks there, you will one-shot a carry if they don't Aegis it. It can be super good. Excuse me, I need water. Other things, Genji's Guard. If you want CDR, it's perfectly fine. Again, you can go Boots, you can go Heart Ward into Genji's Guard. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, whoops, not Heart Ward. You can go Boots, Sovereignty, Genji's Guard. You have plenty of procs. You have MP5, you have HP5, you have cooldown, you have a proc that gives you even more cooldown reset. Really good build. Mail of Renewal. I'd probably stay away from it, but in some cases it can be good. Say you have, let's say you went aggressive auras for some reason, or you wanted to try that out. Let's say you went Jade Emperor's Crown, or you went Midgardian Mail, and then you went Voidstone, and now you feel like you have plenty of procs, but you don't have enough health. You'd go Mail of Renewal, you could play super aggressive, you get kills, you regen a ton, you get objectives, regen a ton. Really good item. Another item that I'll talk about is Emperor's Armor. Very cheap, gives you good bit of HP, or a good bit of HP, good bit of physical prot, and then when you're defending or sieging towers, this can be a very strong item. Let's say that you go like this expensive build right here for team fights. Let's say you go this for team fights, you have 2 support relics, you fight, you win a Gold Fury fight, you're ready to like start making plays on towers, or maybe you win a Fire Giant fight. Whatever happens, you're ready to start sieging. Or you lose that fight, and you need a cheap item, and you need to defend under towers. You'd go Emperor's Armor. Gives you plenty of health to supplement the Spirit Robe very nicely. A little bit of extra procs, and helps your team defend or push towers. Emperor's is a very, very valuable item whenever you are fighting under, or just under a tower in general. Whether you're sieging or defending a siege, just a very valuable item. If you can fit it into your build, go for it. Weakness here is you don't want to rush this item ever. I don't think you want this item before 4th item. So 4th, 5th, 6th is where you would look to get Emperors. And you're foregoing a CDR slot in order to get this item, but I think it's okay. It's just a good item. Other than that, let's say you're full build and you have, you know, maybe this sort of thing going on. Pretty standard build here, Aura Stack and the Spirit Robe. You go late game and you don't know what you want. Maybe you try a Witchblade. You could sell your boots and then go into a Relic Dagger. This could also be a viable option because Blink got nerfed, as I said. This will bring your Blink to a 90-second cooldown. So let's say you're playing Geb, right? You're playing Geb or whatever. You're playing Sylvanas, any Blink engage god. And you go cooldown Shoes, and then you go, like, Gauntlet of Thebes, and you have, you know, you have Sovereignty, and you have Heart Ward, right? Like, this is your build on Geb. And then you go 1 tanky item, so you go one of these 2 cloaks. Let's say you go Mantle. You can just sell your Guardian's Blessing, pick up a Relic Dagger, or if you get ahead, go the Relic Dagger. You could go, you can skip the Gauntlet of Thebes, skip the Mantle, just go this as Geb. You just go Boots, double auras, you're pretty tanky, have a Blink, lower your Blink cooldown by 30 seconds. You can Blink off cooldown, 300 health and 10% movement speed will do a nice job keeping you alive. I would say in the late game, you want to sell Boots. You want double dagger eventually in the game. These games will go late 100% once you get to late game build. If you already have a dagger in your build, or if it's good at all, you go Wingblade plus Relic Dagger plus Witchblade, whatever. Or if you're a warrior, throw in Masamune, go those items. You know, that's completely fine, and that's kind of your late game thing. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm actually going to go... Oh, actually, I want to go over Warriors. They don't really have anything too different. But just treat Runic Shield like you would Void Shield. Or Runic Shield like you would Void Stone. and treat Void Shield like a piece of trash, don't buy this item. It is not good. Masamune can be a good item late game in that situation where I was saying you could sell your daggers. Wouldn't recommend going Ansile. If you are playing like a Bologna or you are playing a Erlang, going Frostbound can be very good. And then the only other item I missed, I believe, was Shield of Regrowth. Who would I build that on normally? Maybe Fafnir, I have it on here. Yeah, I have Fafnir. Okay, cool. Shield of Regrowth. Again, same sort of thing. You could go Shoes of Focus, Gauntlet of Thebes, Shield of Regrowth. You are now fast as fuck. You have health, you have prots, you have MP5, HP5, you have cooldown, and you are fast. Cheap item, quick power spike, good defensive stats, rounds out your build. Really good item if you can get the proc off reliably. Basically, guys, TLDR, I'm stressing, load into the game, figure out what your first item and your second item is going to be, round out your build, keep situational items in mind. It should adapt every single game, and that is pretty much it. The big no-nos that you should never do, unless you're playing Nox or Hell, do not rush Breastplate of Valor. Blessplate. Don't rush Breastplate of Valor. Never go Hide of the Urchin. Bad item. Shit item on support. In mid-game, it doesn't give you CDR or CCR. In the early game, it is worse than Gauntlet of Thebes to rush literally every time. Bad item. This is the new noob trap on support. Breastplate of Valor, you are free for a season. Hide of the Urchin is the noob trap. If you build this item routinely and you think it's good, you should uninstall. It's time to play League of Legends, guys. I'm sorry. It's just not for you. Of course I'm trolling, but you get the point. Other big no-nos. Talisman of Energy, not good. Bad item. Any other big no-nos? Mystical Mail. Unless you're getting really far ahead and you want to start one-shotting people, probably don't want to go it. Stone of Foul, bad item. Don't buy it. Soul Gem doesn't work on support. You need more power to make it work. What else do we have here? All those items are fine. Celestial Legion Helm. Again, bad item. Do not buy. What else? All these items are fine. Gem of Isolation. Actually pretty good situationally. Late game, this can be a fine option if you are 6 item and you don't need a defensive item. You feel like you're tanky enough. Add a little bit of damage, a little more CC. Perfectly fine. Especially if they don't have a Heavenly. If they do not have a Heavenly and you have any dot damage or anything that can apply gem easily, this is a super hard punish. Gives you a little bit of crowd control reduction. Albeit 10% super weird. But yeah, you know, good item. Anything else I'm missing before I close this one up? Oh, Spectral Armor and Nemean. For support, I think Spectral is a little bit better than Nemean if you're against multiple crits, or if you're against multiple crit items, so they have like a Wind Demon and Deathbringer. If it's very reliable that they will crit you, and they have over like a 50% chance, I'd say, Spectral Armor will be better defensively than Nemean. Also gives you the crowd control reduction. Nemean is good, especially in conjunction with Thorns. Really, both of them are good with Thorns. But Nemean is very good against Shred build. Again, I think these are more soul lane items than support. I think you can get away with going other items that will round out your build better. A Soul Reaver or Ethereal Staff, if you want a little bit more damage, you know, feel free. You can get those items. Polynomcon, same sort of idea. Bulwark of Hope, late game, very good item. You could sell, you know, a Genji's Guard, for example. If you don't think you need the CDR anymore, sell Genji's, get Bulwark. It's good late game. And then Oni Hunter's Garb, bad item. This previously was a really good item in Season 4. In Season 5, I no longer feel the same way. I think that, like I said earlier, the bridge item's not really as good, considering that you get a lot more gold in this season. I think going Heart Ward is just always better than this item. The passive, 20% damage reduction that you could control when you get it and use it to surprise the enemy team, and it was very hard to play around, is a lot better than 5% damage mitigation. This passive just isn't as good as the old one. Also, you have to constantly be around 3 or more enemy gods, where with the old passive, you could, like, blink out as a Geb or something, and then run away from the enemies and still have the proc if like one of them was trying to chase you or something. Just a lot of situation where Onis isn't that good. Also, the map is more spread out. You might be 2v2ing more than you used to, and you're not going to get this proc as much. I just think Oni is not a great item. I think it is the worst item in this tree. I think that it is the second worst magical defense item in general, behind Talisman of Energy. Yeah, I would stay away from basically all these items at all costs, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the build guide. 30 minutes on this video. I think the entire guide was like an hour 15 or something, so I apologize for the length, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you all learned a ton. As always, make sure to follow my Twitch and my Twitter. I try to be as educational as I can to kind of teach you guys, and I will try to upload more. I definitely will be streaming more, as I have been for the past few weeks. So yeah, follow me there. Hit me up with any questions you guys have in the comments, or tweet at me, or whatever. I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you learned from any of this. That's what I do it for. So thanks guys, and have a good one.